That is insane. Like, I'm just gonna say this again for now that we're fucking doing this. This picture, right,
Yeah,
Zach? Like you said, that this is the photo of Anthony Blinken, the first man, right, to know about World War III after having
yeah.
a conversation.
That's the
And he
that's
looks
the,
like
the
he's in some mobile SCIF, is what it looks like. If
yeah.
clearly it says handled with utmost care, it means it probably got loaded onto a C-17 or C-5 at some point. It's a wooden door, which is
Yeah.
weird,
With
right?
their
It looks
with
like
their
some sort of SCIF.
3M
Yeah,
3M
yeah, yeah, exactly.
hooks for the U.S. flag. But what
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting at is that he had just spoken with like some Palestinian slash Hamas leaders, and he had just spoken to the president of Israel, and he sat in this room like by himself for hours afterwards, looking like that because
I
he.
mean, you gotta be sick to your stomach. Let's be
Well,
like
I don't
it's
envy his position at all.
no, and it's like I'm sitting here. This is one of those things where it's just like it's so fucked. The only thing you can do is laugh, right?
But
And
what's
no,
crazy is it was like the day before this, I think. It was like the day or the 2 days before this.
yeah,
He was saying that we need a pause on like the attacks on Gaza to like have humanitarian aid actually take root, right?
not gonna happen.
But after this, the next day is like yesterday or like 2 days ago,
Okay.
after this whole incident, he now comes out and he's saying, now you can't pause because then Hamas would regroup and retaliate and you'd have another
And
October 7th attack.
you know what?
So
You know what that says to me. You know what that
he
says to me, that
knows.
it thinks that his bet that the yes, it says to me that he thinks that the best way for World War III to be avoided is for Israel to be so aggressive in destroying Hamas that there's not even a chance for Iran or Syria to get their shit together and try and help them out. The
Exactly.
best way for them
There
to,
was,
to prevent this is is genocide, basically, which is fucking crazy. And never would I ever advocate for genocide. That's completely and totally terrible.
and I
But that's,
think
I mean, to me,
that's,
it says that that's what he knows, that
yeah,
you have to just basically, for once, let a country go completely and totally gloves off, which is something that we've been. If you're in the military, or if you've been around anybody in the military, it's been like the number one gripe from people in the military for a long time. Since Korea, Vietnam, is let us take the gloves off. This will be over in a week or whatever. And I
mm-hmm,
know that's stupid to say. Like, it'll be over in a week, but it
yeah.
definitely won't be as fucking convoluted and complicated,
Well,
right? And that's
the U.S. Navy has said, like, and like leaders of the Navy have said that if a war of China ever kicked off, if the
mhm.
U.S. just let the Navy run rampant for like a week, China would lose. It's
That's what
like
they
a,
need to do. And that's the thing.
yeah,
That's what scares me about conflict nowadays with how political things are,
mm-hmm.
is that there'll be this like, oh, well, let's just do this now and we'll hope that that's enough. Like, no. Like, what I said to Christopher earlier is a quote. I don't remember who said it, but if a blow must be dealt to a man, let it be so violent that we need not fear his revenge. And that
Pretty
is
much.
exactly the move that needs to be made on this crazy ass global chessboard. And it
But
is,
it's
we've reached a point where there's no conversation at the table
and
clearly, right?
that's this picture,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what I'm kind of getting at too, is that before he had conversations with all parties involved, other than
Mm-hmm.
Iran, right?
Mm-hmm.
With all parties involved, he was optimistic from a normal American political current administration idealism. He
Mm-hmm.
was hoping that there was a table we could meet at, that there was a
All right.
way that we could solve
In
this
this mobile skiff.
in this mobile skiff. And then after the conversations, he sits here in his thoughts. He
Mm-hmm.
plays out, probably he knows way more than anyone in intelligence or whatever is
Right.
going to know. He's
Yeah.
the only person who might know more than Anthony Blinken is the president. And even then, I bet Anthony Blinken
Maybe
knows
not.
more than the
In
president
that
at
moment,
times.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's got to go
And
brief people.
and he's sitting here, and within days of walking out of here, it's an entirely 180 switch on the way America's responding to it and the way he's talking about it.
Yeah,
So
second carrier strike group.
yeah, literally, let's put a second one in there. Let's put a
Right.
third. Let's surround
Well, it's like the video
every
I
body
sent
of
you.
water needs a nuclear submarine.
Mhm. Well, dude, the scary thing is the point you were trying to make in the conversation earlier. When I say this, if you want to expand on it because you didn't get a chance to before, please do
Yeah.
so. Is all these other countries are going to get involved, and this is like what I was saying about World War One. Gavrilo Princip shoots and kills Archduke Franz Ferdinand in a vehicle in Sarajevo. There, and the Archduke is there to celebrate essentially the victory in a battle over there that the Serbs lost, right?
Yeah.
And then Austro-Hungary gives them these demands that they know that they can't meet, knowing that it's going to lead to conflict. And because the Serbs are the brothers of the Russian Empire, the Russians say, okay, this is it. And that's what happens. All these pieces start, the Germans are like, well, we got to back up the Austro-Hungarian Empire, and then France is like, well, we got to back up these people over here, and then Belgium gets invaded. And who
Yeah.
guarantees the sovereignty of Belgium? The UK. And then that's it. World War
Yeah.
Three. Well, at the time World
It.
War One. But you get what I'm
Yeah.
trying to say. And this is, I think that was the point you were trying to make.
It was.
Is that this is like the big domino. I think that Ukraine has had several moments. I don't think I know. Ukraine has said several times where you could go to the table, like you said, that you could. There's
Mhm.
go to the table moments, and it would have absolutely come with Zelensky needing to be like, okay, well, we lost this piece or
Yeah.
whatever, and unfortunately, that is what it is, and I understand why the American people are so fucking fed up with paying for foreign wars. We literally just got out of a 20-year conflict and we're doing it again, and this is one of those dichotomies where you either pay to be the world's policeman or you stop being the world's policeman, and
You're
the
policed.
bat villains, yeah, exactly, come out, and like you said, you're policed. And I think that the Ukraine Russia conflict has had multiple opportunities to not be World War III and just being completely and totally real. If that was the only thing that was going on, I don't think that conflict would go to World War III. As much
Mm-hmm.
as Russia wants to make propaganda videos of them blowing up San Francisco, right, with
Mm-hmm.
nukes from a submarine, um, this will though. This very easily could. This very easily could,
It's
because you're
gonna
talking
very.
about
It's gonna very
real
quickly
hatred.
decide the.
Mm-hmm.
There's a power vacuum in the Middle East currently. There
There
has
has
been.
been.
There has been since the U.S. decided
Mm-hmm.
deuces and bounced, and the that power vacuum has led to a lot of very aggressive things, which
Mm-hmm.
has got us here right now. And
Mm-hmm.
the
Weak leadership.
there's gonna be a lot of countries who are gonna want a piece of this pie, either a
Mm-hmm.
bite, a nibble, or the whole pie, and they're all gonna get involved.
Yeah.
And what I was getting at earlier before, it was very emotionally charged conversation, and we still appreciate that. But I was trying to kind of talk about it from like an outside view, and it's like there's going to be there's so many things tying all these other countries and stuff together, and we're really going to learn where true allegiances lie. What papers do they agree to? What past signatures are still good? Like,
Mm-hmm.
there's so many things here. There's stuff between countries, like European nations and the US, that go back to like World War II, that have not been re-looked at. And
Well,
this,
dude, you want to know? We want to know a really weird one. You want to know a really weird one?
yeah,
Is
tells a
why
weird
when
one.
you get stationed in Germany, you get a ration card for coffee. That is a World War II era thing from in the SOFA agreement. If anybody doesn't know, SOFA is Status of Forces
Yeah,
Agreement
yeah.
that has
Which is
not
an
been relooked at
agreement
because it takes
between the
so
United
much
States and whatever country
in
we're
the
in.
host country.
Yeah,
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 there's so much work involved in changing SOFA agreements that you have to have a ration card for coffee still. And it's stupid because if you go to the commissary, the grocery store on base, and buy coffee, they'll ration you. But you could go on the German economy and buy as much coffee as you want and as an American. It's
Is there
so dumb.
is there Starbucks on the American base?
Well, you want to know what something that's really funny is if you've ever been stationed at Ramstein, you know that there is a Starbucks and a Dunkin' Donuts at the
Uh huh.
BX
Uh huh.
mall,
Uh-huh.
essentially on
Yeah.
Ramstein.
Are you rationed
You,
there?
I was just about to say those are privately owned coffee shops. They're owned by not the U.S. government. They're
Yeah.
renting that
Yeah.
kiosk space. So yeah, you could go to Starbucks at the BX and buy as much. You could buy the whole shelf of coffee, and they wouldn't ask you for your ration card. But if you marched 200 yards into the
The
BX
commissary of
and
the
bought,
BX.
well, yeah, even because you can buy coffee in the BX, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Or if you walked across the street to the commissary, you couldn't. You could only buy a certain amount, and then they would ration you. Isn't that
That's
dumb?
funny. That
That's
is
what
dumb.
Zach's talking about. But
Yeah.
that's like a really stupid example. But you
There's
know what else is? It made, what you just said made me think about when we talked about going gloves off and not holding back. You have to have everybody else on the same fucking page. You have to have everybody else on the same page. You want to talk about like lines being drawn in the sand. You talk about people getting involved and who's really with who and who's not with
mm-hmm.
who. Like U.S. allies, like just for shits and gigs, right? Germany, France, UK. If that ends up being who's with us, right, and we decide to do that, there has to be a united front. You can't have one country just going in there and laying wood, right, and the other going in there and sprinkling
Hey,
fairy dust.
we
Right.
support you, but
Yeah.
could you
It
like
has
pull
to
it back?
be right. And and it's crazy too, man, because I mean this when I say this wholeheartedly. I do not ever advocate for war. I am 100% okay with you defending yourself. Right? You come and hit me on the street, I have every right to defend myself. That would hold up in a court of law. But no, I don't advocate for war. The people, if you've never been to a country that has been torn apart by war, whether it's brought to them or it's civil war, you know, you just don't, you can't get it on that level. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? But it's just I don't advocate for it. But part of me is really scared. Somebody actually messaged our page the other day and asked if we've reached a point of no return. And it's funny that Christopher brought that up because I got that question a couple of days ago.
Mm.
And I told him, I was like, yeah, I do think we have reached the point of no return. And I don't know what it's going to look like.
There's no
I
more
don't know what it's
exits.
going to look like. Yeah.
We're on the
And it's
autobahn to war.
sure. And we have talked about before that Thucydides trap about getting off the war highway. Can we avoid
Mm-hmm.
it? It's not even about, to me, it's not even about can the United States avoid war with China? Can China avoid war with the United States? I think it's how is that gonna happen? You know what I mean? Is it one day Iran decides, okay, we're going into Israel, and at the same time the Chinese make a grab at Taiwan? Like, how does that look? It's crazy, man. And it's even crazier to think about. You have a kid on the way, and I have two kids, and what is the world gonna look like?
To them.
Mm-hmm. Like, do we gonna enjoy what, I'm just to call it what it is? Are they gonna enjoy American hegemony like you and I grew up with? Right? Again, like I've said so many times,
Or are we
these
going to be the
18 to
old
22 year
geezers
olds,
who are going to be
sure,
like, I remember the good old times?
or yeah, sure, and these 18 to 22-year-old kids, like, you have known nothing else your whole life but successful United States. And I get it. Like, you grew up, if you're 18 to 22, you grew up in a state of American decline for sure. You know what I mean? As we got further and further into the conflicts in Iraq and Afghanistan and what that looked like. But trust, you grew up in one of the greatest place on earth, and there is no debate about that at all. You can't
Mm-hmm.
change my mind.
Mm-hmm.
What you advocate for when you talk about free Palestine, when you talk about, we just need to bring these ideas out, that are communist and have failed everywhere else, right? Believe me, I hear you when those are symptom conversations of a larger conversation about corruption in our government, and that's right, and you're right about that, and that needs to change. Crony capitalism is a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Labor being used as a means to control you in this like neo-feudalist state we live in, that's a problem. And that's
Having
what I was
nothing to
getting in that
conserve
conversation,
is a
right?
problem.
That's a problem. Those are things that you need to be fighting for, not fucking going up and down the hallway in your high school yelling from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. You're literally quoting the leader of Hamas, who wants all Jews in one area so doesn't have to hunt them down globally. Like, those are real words, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not a catchphrase. It's not a rallying cry for some humanitarian crisis. It isn't. You know, you enjoy what you enjoy because of American power. And come at me all you want about it, but you grew up in a country that taught you to hate it,
Yeah.
unfortunately. And that was wrong. That was wrong.
Yeah, for sure. Um, I can't remember the country Chris said also like part of NATO that
Topher.
then that what was it?
I said Topher.
Is that it?
Chris Topher. No,
Oh no,
I'm just being funny.
I was like, what country is
Because
that?
he doesn't like being called Chris.
Oh,
Yeah.
I was trying to remember what country he said that's like part of NATO that then was all like anti-Israel or whatever. Was it Turkey?
Yeah, he was talking about Turkey. He
Okay,
was talking about
so
Erdogan.
that made me think of
Mhm.
something that worries me about this outcome too, and
What's that?
I think we should end it after this so people can like think about it on this little
Mhm.
Ember episode.
Dude,
Ember
I was going to say,
mini
Ember
episode.
Afterthoughts. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is
So-
a mini-sode.
And what I was thinking of is
The after action report. Sorry, go ahead.
in World War One and World War Two, you had very clear, like you're talking about, you had very
Mhm.
clear, agreed upon groups like Axis powers and the Allies who came together and fought to the same level. Right, there wasn't like one saying going balls to the wall and the other one not doing it. Right, and at
Mhm.
the end of it, they were the victors and they split things. Right, what I'm worried about in the potential World War III scenario. Okay,
Mhm.
I'm
Yes.
paraphrasing, right?
Oversimplifying. Yeah.
But I'm worried in like the World War III scenario of like, so Turkey's part of NATO. Maybe they're like just kind of sitting on the edge, not maybe really too involved, right? And then if the good guys win, the US wins, Iran gets knocked down, all type of stuff. Right after the hey, we're good to go, this conflict is over, this war is over, and then you get like an inside man almost, like Turkey just nuke something, just do something crazy because
Well, the
they
only
weren't
nukes in
fully
Turkey are
invested
American
from the beginning.
nukes.
Yeah,
But yeah,
but
I know what you're saying.
you know what I'm getting at
Mhm.
is that you have someone who's on your side, they're in your group,
Mhm.
and then because they weren't actually fully committed at the last hoorah, at the last end, they sabotage it all, or
Mhm.
they change sides halfway through. Like that's what I'm worried
They
about.
go berserk. They're berserker. They're a
Yeah,
berserker. Mhm.
and you could there's a good handful of countries, and that's what I was getting at. Is you're gonna really learn
Like
who
good North Korea.
yeah, you're gonna really learn what agreements are still valid, what
Mhm.
treaties are still good to go.
Mhm.
It's kind of like the keep your friends close, keep your enemies closer. I laugh
Mhm.
my ass off though if like North Korea, is like on China's side more likely and Russia's side,
Of course
and
they
then
will.
it gets close to the end and they just go, yeah, you know what? Never mind. They just nuke China or nuke.
Bro. Yeah,
Could you imagine?
that'd be crazy. China would nuke them back in a second, bro.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That
But
talk about parking lots, like for real.
yeah, but
That'd be insane.
like, what if like North Korea's sitting there and they're like, well, we can't get our nuke to the U.S. and we're gonna lose anyways.
Somebody's
so let's
like
just
talking to Kim, and they're like, "Hey, I don't know if you know this, but during World War II, Italy changed sides." And he's like, "Really?" Like, yeah, they went from Axis to Allies,
yeah,
and he's like, "Oh, interesting.
that's a thing.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I don't know.
Uno
You know?
reverse.
Yeah, reverse. Yeah, exactly. I don't want to be caught with all these cards in my hand. What the hell just happened to your light, bro? It looks like the freaking sun came up.
Yeah, these died, so
Oh,
I'm now stuck here looking extra bright.
you are, dude. I can't tell if that's your bald head or the hat.
How's that?
Just kidding. Yeah, perfect. Good thing you have a mustache. Yeah, but anyway, yeah, man. I do think that that picture that you put up, Anthony Blinken. That's pretty foreboding, for sure.
Something to think about.
I couldn't even imagine the shit they said. Like, what would you even say? Listen, man, I need you guys to not be maniacal, genocidal, homicidal fucks for 5 minutes, you know? And they're all just like, best I can do is genocide, you know? And you're just like,
Like,
I laugh and
like
you
I
laugh,
just
but it's true. That's
yes.
probably the gist of the conversation.
Yeah. Like, hey
What can
guys,
I do?
could you just like not murder your own people real quick so we could, and then like does not murder any Israelite. Like let's just for like a week, let's just not murder anyone.
Mm-hmm.
Just so like we can get health and aid in here real quick, and I'll go talk to Israel, and we just won't murder anyone for like a week. And they
Can you
look.
hold off until after the election so we don't have to fight off starting World War III on the campaign trail?
And then their question is, well, who's gonna
Carry the
who's
boats.
yeah who's gonna carry the boats? No, who do you think's gonna win? Is it gonna be another Biden or is it gonna be someone else?
So
And he's like, well, it's probably gonna be
he was in
Biden.
that room with Benjamin Netanyahu also.
They weren't all in the same room together. He spoke to them separately because they wouldn't come together, obviously. So
So he had a conversation with each of them.
yeah, he had a conversation with Hamas or Palestine, like with them, and then
Do you think he had a guard in the room when Hamas was in there with him?
I don't think he physically sat with them. I think there was definitely over the phone or like video.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say
At
because
least with
like
them, he could have sat with Benjamin, but like, there's no way
I said there had to
he
be like
sat
some
with
Delta
Hamas.
Force guy sitting in the room or something. You know what I
No,
mean?
there's no
Like,
way he sat with Hamas.
and
There's
here's
no
your NDA. You know, for real.
There's no way that happened. That had to have been a phone call or over the video, and who knows even how
Right.
long it was. It could have been like 5 minutes. It could have just been
Right.
Hamas the whole time saying "fuck you, death to America, death to Israel." You know what I mean?
Yeah, who knows? I don't know.
Could have been.
But I'm just saying, like that guy has an impossible job.
I
I
don't
don't
envy
envy
him.
that. Because let's be real, man. I think
How much
we're
does
talking
Secretary
about
State make?
I don't know, but here's a good closing thought. Okay, I had a conversation one time with one of the better master sergeants, and in my career that I met, I was a young staff sergeant, and we had a lieutenant on my flight who was not doing very well, right, at leading. A lot of mistakes. He had made some mistakes, like in his off time as well, that kind of
Mm-hmm.
got public, and the flight definitely was kind of turning against this LT. And I remember he pulled this master sergeant. He pulled us aside, like the NCOs, and was like, "Listen, I get it. There's some mistakes being made, some public mistakes, and some big mistakes. But at the end of the day, you should want to see that lieutenant succeed
Yeah.
because he needs to be successful. And if he can't be and he fucks up and he fails, that's on him. But you should never want to see him fail. And that's the point I'm making. And I remember that conversation because it can be applied in a lot of different ways. You know, I don't want to see Anthony Blinken fail. I don't want to see Joe Biden fail, even though I don't like Joe Biden, right?
Yeah.
I don't like most
There's
politicians, but
there's still
I don't want to
there's
see
still
them
the
fail.
pilot slash co-pilot slash navigator of the aircraft we're in.
Right.
And if
Just
they
like people,
fail, we're crashing to the
Mhm.
ground.
I don't want to. It would have been terrific if Joe Biden solved every problem the United States has.
Yeah.
That would have been terrific. Wow. Okay, cool. You proved me wrong. I'm glad that happened. You know what I mean? It shouldn't matter where it comes from. And that's too much of that. It needs to come from this side for it to be okay with me. You know what I mean? And so I don't want to see him fail. I don't want to see any of them fail. I would love to get off this fucking carnival ride without radiation poisoning or being turned into a shadow on the wall, like at the Peace Museum there in Hiroshima.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't want anything like that to happen. You should want your president. You should want them to be successful. Doesn't mean they're not beneath being criticized. They should be criticized. But, you know, at the end of the day, I was just getting at looking at him, that very defeated look, right? That isn't him just tired. Like, that's him tired on 100 levels. That's him frustrated. It looks like failure to me, you know? It
He's
just sucks.
upset that he
That
can't solve
sucks.
this one.
It sucks.
Yeah.
And I mean, you can say what you want about politicians, and all politicians are cunts, whatever. You know, this
Still a human.
most part. Well, he's still a human, but he also is, you know, trying to avoid World War III. And you could say that they're not, and that they're trying to push for it. And some people think that. I mean, I don't think that. I don't think people are actively pushing for World War III. Not people like
Yeah.
Anthony Blinken. You know what I
No.
mean? Like maybe these mullahs in Iran, or, you know, Xi Jinping or
Kim
whatever,
Jong
you know,
Un.
because
Yeah.
they want to see a transfer of power at any cost. But that's just a shitty picture, bro. That's like one of those things where, like, that'll be in the year 2100. You'll, if you're a kid in high school, if that's still a fucking thing, you'll
It's gonna
either
be like a time. It's gonna be
flip.
like in your history book.
I was gonna say, you're gonna flip through your history book, if there are still history books, and there's gonna be a picture of Anthony Blinken in a mobile SCIF, wherever the fuck he's at, looking frustrated.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll use that as a confluence to talk about all the other shit that went down prior to that meeting, and all the other shit that happened afterwards.
Mm-hmm. He makes
So,
$221,000 a year.
I mean, yeah. If you're that
Pretty.
guy, I think that's a decent salary. Just saying.
Yeah, but he's really earning his paycheck recently.
Yeah, and I'm saying that without even knowing about any sort of insider trading, if he's a part of any of that or
Yeah,
whatever. I
that's
have no
true.
idea. I'm just saying that if you're the secretary, what is he, Secretary of
Secretary of
State?
State.
Yeah. If you're that guy, I feel like 225 or what the fuck you just said. I mean, like, that's pretty fucking good salary. So anyway, cool, man. Well, this was kind of fun. It's the first time we've done a little after action report on an episode. So
A
a little special edition version.
little burning coals or something. Yeah,
Yeah,
we'll
embers.
get a good name. We'll get a good
Stoking
name.
the embers. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
So, all right, man. Let's get off this biatch.
See ya.
What's going on, Fire fans? I Came with Fire podcast is sponsored by Red Clover Coffee and Sheep's Clothing LLC. Red Clover Coffee is a veteran-owned company with small batch roasted coffees, and they just happen to donate to some pretty awesome charities. Whether you're into specialty flavored coffees, single source coffees, or having a really cool coffee mug and some badass slaps, Red Clover has you covered. You can order ground, whole bean, or even coffee pods and get it all at 10% off your entire purchase using coupon code CAMEWITHFIRE. Again, that's 10% off your entire purchase using our coupon code CAMEWITHFIRE. I personally love their Blueberry Invasion and African Roast. That Blueberry Invasion hits the spot. Head over and get yourself some awesome coffee and support us by supporting our sponsor. I Came with Fire podcast is also sponsored by Sheep's Clothing LLC. Sheep's Clothing LLC is a unifying banner for all violent arts, disciplines, professions, and survivors of violent circumstances. Redefine violence. Both Zach and I being survivors of violent circumstances and LEOs in the military, we are especially excited to be able to offer you 10% off your entire purchase with coupon code FIRE10 at checkout. Whether you're looking for an awesome t-shirt, hats, slaps, flags, or MMA gear, they've got you covered. Me personally, I love my snapback with the leather patch surrounded by God's flannel. If you know, you know. That's coupon code FIRE10, FIRE10 at checkout for 10% off your entire purchase. Thank you all so much for supporting this podcast, and if you should feel compelled, treat yourself by supporting our sponsors as well. They truly make a difference for us. Now let's make a difference for them. See you on the next show.